Hello and welcome to Andy's Cornish Creations. This project is a challenge set by the Cape Cod Woodturners, and I'm going to be doing a bowl, but it will develop as it's going along, as you will see if you keep watching. So keep watching the whole video through, it does get interesting. There I've put a hole in for my worm screw so I can mount it onto the jaws. This is a piece of oak. It's about 5 inches by about 4 inches thick. And I'm just screwing it onto the chuck there. Here I'm just marking out for a rebate or a mortise, so that I can mount it up on the other side, onto the chuck. So just cutting it in with a that is a 1/4 inch tenon mortise chisel. Here, there's a little reminder to like, subscribe and ring the bell. If you can, don't forget. So here I've got my 1/2 inch bowl gouge, and I'm just creating the shape. And I'm going to keep it fairly simple, the shape, the sides of the bowl. Not doing anything too fancy. And I'm leaving a little bit of meat at the bottom there, not making it too thin, so that the jaws don't crack the bowl open when I expand them into that mortise. So just turning the top over, rounding it off, and just creating the shape that I want. Here I'm using a negative rake scraper to just tidy up the cuts. And just finalize the shape that I want. Onto sanding. Start with an 80 grit down to 140, down to 400 rather, and then apply abrasive paste. And just wiping off any excess abrasive paste, and then on with the wood wax. Then I generally turn the speed up to get a bit of heat in there and get a nice shine. There I'm putting it on a small chuck and expanding the jaws into the mortise. I've still got tailstock support. I always like to keep a bit of tailstock support if I can, because it just adds a little bit of extra safety. So just finishing off that top that I couldn't quite get at before with the round nosed negative rate scraper there. And then I've got my round carbide cutter. This is one that I made myself, but it's about a 3/8 inch round carbide on the steel rod there. And I'm going in, I'm doing as much as I can with the tailstock support already in place. Here I've got another little carbide cutter with a little bend on it, and it's quite good for undercutting under the lip there, because I want to leave a relatively small hole in the top, and so I can undercut it inside. So just taking the centre out now that the tailstock's removed. I've got a bit more access. This whole filming is speeded up to 3 times speed, just so that I can keep the video down to about 20 minutes. I do quite like these carbide cutters for the insides of bowls. It does make it an awful lot simpler. And here I'm just taking it down to the full depth. I'm going to be putting a lid on this, so I just want to put a little rebate just there, using that 1/4 inch tenon chisel, and there I'm just putting a little sort of raised rounded feature, and there I'm using a spindle gouge with a sort of a fine point on it, just to put a bit of detail in there and get a bit of depth. But at this stage I had made the top of the bowl a little bit on the thin side, so I had to be a bit careful not to make this too deep. So just sand up the top, exactly the same process, but here I'm adding a burnt line, or a couple of burnt lines, and I'm using a little piece of formica to burn in the line, which I think's worked quite well. And then back on with the abrasive paste, and then the wood wax, and just give it a little buff up. Just going a little bit deeper here, and then, as you can see there, I've gone down to where the rebate is, and this is what we call in the wood turning circles with bowls is a funnel, and it's a common mistake, but I must admit, in this occasion, this is part of the challenge for the Cape Cod Woodturners, is to design something from a funnel bowl. So basically, a funnel bowl is a sort of a mistake, but this is this project is to make something from what is actually a mistake, but in this case it's a deliberate mistake, if you understand what I'm saying. So this, I decided what I was going to do was to make a little stand for the bowl, so that this stand fits into the mortise of in the bottom of the bowl, and then it creates a feature. Instead of just throwing the bowl away, we're going to make a feature on the bottom using that mortise to fit the little stand into. So here I'm turning. I've got a piece of the same oak, and I'm just making a sort of a tenon here to fit inside the mortise into the bottom of the bowl. And I'm just reducing the size until it fits in the bottom of the bowl. Keep taking out small amounts. Don't overdo it, because if it's too loose, it'd be no good. Just squaring off the bottom, and there we've got a nice tight fit. There we go. And here I lost a bit of the footage, I'm afraid, but you can see where the tenon is, and then I'm starting to shape the little stand there. Here I'm using a 1/2 inch round-nosed scraper, just to get that rounded part nice and even, and that works quite nicely. It just fits in there nicely. Quite a simple design. Don't want to make it too fancy. Don't want to gild a lily. And here I'm just doing a little round feature on the edge, just to add a little bit of detail. And that's going to be the bottom of the stand. And I've got a parting tool that I'm just parting it down to a point where I can start sanding, and then do the usual sanding down to 400 grit. I think here I decided to put a little burnt line on here as well, and this is using a thin wire and just a little burnt line, and then on with the abrasive paste and the wood wax, just to give it a nice shine, and then I'll be able to finish off parting it off. When I'm applying the waxes, I usually apply them about 400 revs. There you see it looks quite nice finish, and I buff it up at about 1200 revs. So that's all good. Just taking off a little bit of that wax there, so that when I do glue it, it'll stick better. And then back with the parting tool, and then just part off the little stand there. As you can see, we're a bit close with the here I've got another piece of oak. It's about 3 inch in diameter and about 1 inch thick, and I've just got it pressed up against a glue block. And here my calipers are set to the size of the rebate on the top of the bowl, and I'm going to be making the lid with this piece. So here I'm just using using the carbide cutter just to start. This is the underside of the lid that I'll be doing here. There's a reminder to hit that like and subscribe, and so I'm just reducing the size to the marks that I made with the calipers. And just trying it on to see if it fits. Just gradually take it down until it's a nice tight fit. It needs to be reasonably tight, because if it's too loose, it'll just keep popping off. So now I'm just hollowing out the underside of the lid. You see there, it's still a touch tight. So I'm just going to take a little bit more off. So here I'm just adjusting the glue block, and I'm making it so that the lid fits just into there, into that little rebate, and holds in. I will still be using tailstock support, so that's okay, but I will also be using some hot glue around the edge to hold it in place, because eventually I'll have to take that tailstock support away, and it needs to be held in exactly the same position. So I'm going to do as much work as I can. Here I'm using the 1/2 inch bowl gouge. I'm going to do as much of the work as I can with the tailstock still there, and then I'll just finish it off with the tailstock taken away. I will also be putting a hole in the top of this lid, because I'm going to be putting a finial on the top made of black ebony, which I think should look really nice. I think that's basically the shape done. I'm not going to do anything fancy, it's just a very simple top. Here I'll sand it again from 80 to 400. Apply abrasive paste, and then some wood wax, and I get quite a nice shine on this. Buff it up, and then I'm just going to take that little top off, and that will allow me to drill a hole in there for the finial to fit into. Just tidy up that hole, and that's it. I'll remove the I need to do a bit of sanding there. There must have been a little mark or something that I'll need it to get rid of, so I'll just sand it back to 400 and apply the waxes again. Now at the end of this, I don't actually get to turn the finial, and the reason for it will be on my next video. Here's some denatured alcohol, or meths as we use over here. But as I say, I won't be able to turn the finial because I have a bit of a disaster in my workshop, and I'll show you that on another video. But this is as far as I get with the project. As you see, it was turning out to be really good. Unfortunately, I didn't get to finish it, but I got quite a long way, and just the finial to finish off. So unfortunately, that's as far as I got with that project, and you'll see on my next video why that was. And but anyway, for the Cape Cod Woodturners, that's my entry, and I'm afraid that's as much as I'll be able to do for the moment. But good luck with all of yours, and I look forward to seeing some of the designs that you create, because from what I've seen in the past, you have some great ideas, and there's a lot of talent in that wood turning group. So hope you enjoyed it. My name's Andy Paramore. This is Andy's Cornish Creations, and I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.